talking inflation. The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great, So, again, if it turns out that what I've done so far, what we've done so far, is a mistake, it's going to show. Bringing down inflation was 9% when I came to office. 9%.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this pretty fascinating clip here from Fox News host Neil Cavuto confronting Biden's economic advisor, Mr. Jared Bernstein, on the lies of the Biden administration when it comes to the economy. The constant gaslighting, telling the American people that up is down and down is up. Because everybody knows that the economy is not in great shape thanks to Bidenomics and Biden's progressive spending that is driving this country into more and more debt, okay? And Biden has been coming out here and essentially lying about the main reason why the economy is not great, which is inflation. He's claiming that, hey, inflation was at 9% when I got in office, okay? He's basically trying to say, well, it was Trump's fault, right? I inherited a bad economy from Trump, right? Therefore, none of this is my fault, okay? Blame Trump. I mean, he's just flat out lying, okay? He's just lying. He lied during a CNN interview, and CNN did not fact check him or push back on the fact that, hey, bro, you just lied about inflation, because when you took office, I think inflation was maybe 1 or 2%, okay? I mean, inflation quite literally took off when Biden and Democrats passed their massive spending bill in Congress in an economy that was already predicted to be pretty good without the extra stimulus. But they decided they want to do their own stimulus package and to continue to spend more money, even though it wasn't necessary. So I want to react to this clip of Jared Bernstein, who, by the way, is the same guy in that clip that I posted from the modern monetary theory video that couldn't explain modern monetary theory and why we choose to borrow money instead of just print money. Okay, I mean, we do both, but he couldn't explain exactly how the system works in relation to monetary theory. Okay, so understand, Biden, he doesn't have the best and brightest working for him. Okay, just keep that in mind. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Speaking of the White House, honored to have my next guest, the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, Jared Bernstein. You know, Jared, I understand your frustration sometimes when you look at the data and Americans don't buy the data, but they really don't buy the president telling them that they're essentially wrong. It's not that bad. So how do you navigate that?
Well, that's not at all what the president tells them. And in fact, yesterday, if you look at his statement, which is on the White House website, on the inflation report, we got a very favorable report from the perspective of the markets today, as you have been reporting correctly. But he pointed out, I think one of his first sentences is, we know families are still struggling with prices that are too high. I mean, this is practically a quote from his statement yesterday. Never will this president blow off the struggles that families like the one he grew up in are going through. Instead, he'll take action to help them through cutting costs, prescription drug, clean energy, housing, childcare, junk fees, actively working to lower costs in those areas. So not at all dismissive of America's concerns in that regard, Neil.
All right, well, some might disagree with you on that, but I do want to get behind why the president keeps claiming this. This is what talking about inflation. Take a look.
We have dramatically reduced inflation from 9% down to close to 3%. We're in a situation where we're better situated than we were when we took office. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%. But look, people have a right to be concerned. I think inflation has gone slightly up. It was at 9% when I came in, and it's now down around 3%.
Yeah, so again, this is just flat out propaganda that Biden's handlers told him to go out and say, right? Just lie, okay? This is what they have stooped to, okay? Because Biden's so desperate that they're telling him, look, man, just tell the American people that inflation was at 9% when you got in office, and they'll fall for it, right? The liberal media is never going to push back. So they know that Biden can freely say this on MSNBC or CNN or, ABC, wherever he's, doing these interviews. He knows that he's not going to get pushback because, again, the liberal media is an arm of the Democrat Party. So, again, they've just said, well, just lie, right? Just lie. Again, even though inflation was at 1 to 2% when this guy took office, what he's saying is just not true. Like, this is just an actual lie. And he's saying it because he's desperate and he knows that he can get away with it. However, on the other hand, we all know if Trump came out and said something like this, right, told a lie like this, the mainstream media, they be losing their mind, right? They be fact checking it and trying to correct him and do all the things they always do when it comes to anything that Trump says, right? Whether it's the truth or what, right? Like, they're always going to try to say, oh, no, it's not true. We got to fact check it, right? But when it comes to Biden, though, they just let him lie, right? And again, they're so desperate and they think that American people are so stupid that they can just lie to your face and you're just going to believe it. This is what they do.
Jared, why does he keep saying that? You're his top you're the head of the Council of Economic Advisors. Do you ever whisper in his ear, Mr. President, just to be technical about it, it wasn't 9% when you assumed office, it was 1.4%. It got as high as 9% in 2022. You brought it down from that, but it was never, ever, ever 9% when you came into office. So why?
Well, here's the thing, Neil. This guy is probably part of the group of handlers that told Biden to go out and lie in the first place, right? So you're asking him as if Biden came up with that idea. Biden didn't come up with that idea, right? He didn't come up with anything, okay? People like this guy are the people that told Biden to go out and lie, okay? So you should be asking him, why did you tell Biden to go out and to lie to American people like this? Do you really believe that American people are this dumb to believe this from Biden? That's what you really should be asking.
Why does he keep saying it?
Well, first of all, let me point out that in that very quote you played, the president talked about how concerned he was for households struggling with prices that he consistently
That's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you.
So
why does he keep misrepresenting this?
He's making the point that the factors that caused inflation to climb to 9% were in place when he took office.
No, that's not what he said. He said it was at 9%. It would eventually get to 9% a little over a year after that. But the fact of the matter is it wasn't 9%. So if I can't trust him quoting data in real time, why should I believe what he's talking about now?
So the annual growth in core inflation in the second quarter of 21 was in fact about 9%, and his point about inflation down 60% off its peak is very much the case. So
no, it wasn't. It was not. It was not at that. So you're almost as bad as he is. Why can't you just say it was high? It got as high as 9%. You'd be accurate in saying that. And we have now brought it down, and we're struggling in around the 3% area. But it's better than it was. But instead, to hang it on his predecessor, that you inherited something that was through the roof when we were in the middle of COVID. It just seems to the American people, whether you're Republican or a Democrat, you're lying. Neil. You're just lying.
Well, Neil, that would require the Biden administration to be honest and to tell the truth, right? Because they're not honest and they don't tell the truth, and they think that American people are stupid and they're desperate. This is what they're doing, okay? So, again, Neil is trying to give the Biden administration the benefit of the doubt as if they want to tell the truth when they don't. They've been lying the whole time about the economy, okay? In fact, this guy lied when he claimed that, well, the factors were in place that led to the 9% inflation before Joe Biden got in office. Now, here's the thing. Some of that is true in the sense that would we had experienced an increase in inflation as a result of what happened during the beginning of the pandemic, all the money that was spent, the shutdowns that happened? Yes, we would have, for certain. However, going into 2021, all of the major banks, the major economic institutions were predicting that, hey, the 2021 economy is going to be okay, right? It's going to be good. You don't necessarily need more stimulus. We have enough stimulus. And also on top of that, Democrats refused to open back up the economy while red states were opening back up their economies. Democrats extending the lockdowns and also deciding to spend more money, okay, spend trillions more dollars that we didn't have to try to, stimulate the economy even more, is the reason why inflation got out of control. Again, that's not to say that we would not have had some inflation, because again, when the government spends trillions of dollars along with the unprecedented amount of monetary easing that happened from the Federal Reserve, okay, they definitely printed a ton of money. They put a lot of money into the economy in order to try to keep the economy afloat during the lockdowns. Yeah, that's going to result in some inflation, right? But Biden and the Democrats decided to pour fuel on the fire to make it out of control the way that it is right now, because they decided that instead of just chilling out and saying, you know what, we've done enough spending, we don't need any more stimulus. No, they decided to spend more money, okay, and to essentially make the problem even worse, right? This is what they did. And it's not just the stimulus, which is what makes this lie and this gaslighting so bad here from the Biden administration, because you also have the Inflation Reduction Act, the infrastructure bill, sending money overseas to Ukraine. All of these things, all these policies from the Biden administration are contributing to inflation, right? So again, it's just really bad when you come out here and you just flat out lie about where inflation was at when Biden took office. And then when called out about it, you basically essentially say that, well, our policies didn't have anything to really do with it. It was going to be 9% no matter what. And I just don't think that that's true. Okay. Again, would inflation had went up? Yes. But it would not have went up to the point that is at right now if it wasn't for Democrat policies in regards to more spending that wasn't needed, and also locking down the country for much longer than what was needed as well. Those two things are the biggest factors that have contributed to inflation getting out of control. And these people lied to us at the beginning and claimed that, oh, well, it's transitory, right? It's going to go away. It was only going to be a few months. No, it has lasted for a few years, and it doesn't really seem like the Federal Reserve can get it under control without actually really tanking the economy, okay? Because right now we're experiencing stagflation. We have a slowdown in growth and an increase in inflation. Inflation is sticking above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. So again, this is just not a good situation. It is even worse that the Biden administration is lying to the American people about it.
I hear you. The president was making the point that I think is unequivocally true. The factors that took inflation to 9% were in place when he took office.
That is not what he said, Jared. And you're a very smart guy with this stuff. You could just whisper. He's a good friend of yours. Obviously, thinks the world of you. Many others do as well. You could have just told him, Chief, I got to tell you, Mr. President, whatever you say, you might even, in fact, call him Joe. That's how close you are. And say, sir, it was not 9%. Stop it with the 9%, because the more you say that, the more people don't believe what you're saying.
Neil, this guy is the dude that told him to say it, right? Biden didn't come up with that lie. See, that's the problem. You really should be asking this dude, why did you tell Biden to lie? Why are y'all telling Biden to lie? That's what you really should be saying, because that's what's happening. Neil is giving way too much credit to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, there's no way he came up with that idea to lie like that, right? He didn't do that. This guy did it, right? That's the funny part about it.
Look, I think what the American people care most about is the fact
truth.
that inflation.
The American people care about truth, Jared.
Hold on, Neil. Neil, this only works if you let me talk, okay?
You haven't answered my question. I've asked it 5 times, five ways.
The president was making the point that the factors that caused inflation were in place when he took office, and that's unequivocally true.
Right.
I take your point, and we can have we can go on all day back and forth on this. I think what matters today is, are we making progress on lowering costs as well as lowering inflation? You know, they're not the same thing. Lowering both inflation and costs on behalf of the American people. I think we saw a great CPI report yesterday in that regard, but that's just one data point. No victory laps, no getting too far over
the trend is your friend, and other economists agree with you that it looks like it could be, and the Federal Reserve might have some flexibility to cut rates.
Correct.
I had a guest on, you might have heard earlier,
I don't think that the Federal Reserve really has that much flexibility to cut rates unless they want to juice the economy for Biden, right? I don't think that the Federal Reserve is going to risk, if they're actually being responsible with their monetary policy, I don't think they're going to risk cutting rates too early while inflation is still elevated. Unless, again, they really want to try to essentially juice the outcome of the election in favor of Biden, right? Because right now, again, one of the reasons why the economy is struggling is because rates are high. The cost to borrow money is high. Businesses, they just don't have access to capital the way they used to when rates were extremely low. And right now, again, the Fed has to keep the rates elevated in order to avoid inflation getting back out of control, right? So the problem is that right now the CPI report indicates that inflation is still elevated, right? It's basically staying constant around 3 to 4%. And again, if the Federal Reserve decides to cut rates too early for political reasons, that could risk inflation getting back out of control. So I'm not sure exactly what the Fed is going to do, but if they do lower rates, best believe it's to help Joe Biden, right? That's what it's for.
Jared was saying that would be a mistake. It would be a little too soon to start cutting rates. How do you feel about that?
I'm not going to talk about Federal Reserve monetary policy in that regard. What I will say is that the Fed and Jerome Powell has consistently said he needs to have more faith in his forecast, and I suspect he's not the only one. I think a report like yesterday's on the CPA is a data point that helps in that regard, but we'll have to listen to the Fed on that point.
So let me... Yeah, I mean, again, the CPI report, you only can really gain so much insight from that because they cook these reports so badly, right, in favor of the Biden administration. That, you know, that's just one data point. But I think that what American people are actually really feeling when it comes to inflation, the jobs market, is not the same thing that you're getting from the government reports, right? I did a video yesterday about how you have new college graduates struggling to find jobs in what is supposed to be a strong labor market, okay? Biden's unemployment rate is so low, okay? And they use that as the main reason why they say that the economy is so great. Except when you actually talk to people and you get their real experiences, again, it doesn't match with the government reports and the government data. Same thing when it comes to inflation. So, you know, I personally understand where Neil Cavuto is coming from. It is frustrating to see the Biden administration just flat out lie to the American people in their faces and then want to try to play dumb and try to change up what Biden actually said or what he meant during the interview, even though we know this dude just flat out lied. But, you know, hey, this is par for the course when it comes to administration. This is why Biden doesn't do any not friendly interviews, because he knows that he would fall apart if he was actually called out on his lie. Like this guy, Jared Bernstein, just fell apart when being called out on the fact that Biden lied about the inflation numbers when he got into office. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.